Tom, that was a great introduction. Thanks a latte. Well, come on, we want to have fun, right? Right, how many people in the last year have changed, tweaked, or trashed their elevator speech? In the last 6 months? In the last 6 weeks? As I'm speaking, you were saying, I need to work on my elevator speech. Yeah, I struggled with mine for years. It was always a work in progress, and we've all been there. You go to a networking event, a social function, or a seminar, and the leader says, hey, you know what, before we get started, we're going to go around the room. Everyone's going to introduce themselves. Stand up, tell us who you are, what you do, give us your elevator speech. Does that sound familiar? All right. Now, did anybody ever feel like this? Now, for me, it was always a religious moment because I would pray, please, don't call me first. I know I should have been prepared for this. I will next time. Ring a bell, anyone? All right. And then the elevator speeches start. And some of them, they're pretty good. You know, I'm Don. I'm an estate planning attorney. I've been doing this for 25 years. You might have read some of my articles in the local media. If you have an estate plan and you want to have it reviewed, or you're thinking about getting one, we should have a conversation. I'm Don. Now, I feel pretty comfortable talking to Don. He established his credibility. Sounds like he knows what he's doing. He said it in a forceful, nice manner. That sounds pretty good. Now, then there are some that are boring. You know, I'm Louise. I'm a bookkeeper. Glad to be here. Why would you want to talk to Louise? She's done nothing to distinguish herself, right? And then some are just outrageous. And I know a guy, I swear, if he sells 10 products, he'll tell you about 12 of them. He'll give you case studies on 13. If somebody's dinging the timer that he's taking up somebody else's time, it doesn't matter to him, so it'll take up more time. And he talks about so much stuff, I would never want to have anything to do with him. And then there are those people that you have no idea what they're doing. You're just wondering about them. It's confusing. And it might be something like, I'm Bill, the financial plumber, and I'm going to show you how to flush all of your financial problems down the toilet. You know, I don't know what Bill's selling, but I'm not buying. You know, be honest with you. And some of these people, if you were in an elevator with them, you'd want to get out. At least you'd be hitting that stop button, right? So going forward, we want to talk about what is an elevator speech, why have one, what are the goals of an elevator speech. I want to talk to you about how I crafted the elevator speech template I've got. I'm going to deliver my elevator speech, and then we're going to break it down. I've got time set aside for questions, and then we'll conclude. So an elevator speech was based upon the idea that you get into an elevator and somebody says, what do you do? That by the time you reach the next floor or the next stop, you could tell them. I've never given an elevator speech in an elevator. Has anybody? No. But the concept is good. It had to be something that was relatively quick, that somebody would understand what you do. And one of the premises of an elevator speech is that no selling. It's just to deliver content. Because what you want to do is have somebody completely understand what you do, and that they might want to have a conversation later. And we've all had people give us those elevator speeches where they're almost taking out an order pad, right? And you're not going to buy from them, not at that point. So the essence of an elevator speech is that it clearly articulates what you do very concisely, and that it has impact. That will be memorable. Does that make sense? Okay. I want to give you an example of a non-elevator speech that did just that. I had a 98 Ford Explorer at one time. I had 150,000 miles on it. I really liked this car. Now, it had some dings. Well, it had some dents. But that wasn't all bad. You come to a four-way stop and people would go, you, go through. or pull into a parking spot and the people on the other side would leave. But I needed brakes on the car. And I put out the word to friends and family. I was looking for a mechanic. And Danny's name came up. And I called Danny, and I told him what I needed, what kind of a car. He said, yeah, no big deal, I can do that. And I started asking all kinds of questions about cars, and I know nothing about cars. And he stopped me, he says, Fred, I went to Rankin Technical School. I'm ASE certified. You're in good hands. I said, Danny, can we do this Saturday? But right away, he established his credibility. I think we're all aware of Rankin Technical School. And I've seen this ASE certified thing at the mechanics places. You see it at the garages. So in 3 sentences, he established his credibility. We never talked price. I really wasn't concerned about the price. I figured it would be fair. I just didn't want somebody screwing me and having me buy things I didn't need. And Danny and I wound up having a great relationship. I needed a number of repairs over the years, and we'd go buy parts, and it really didn't matter to me what he picked out, the most expensive one or a cheaper one. The guy knew what he was doing. In fact, he was so honest, at one point he said, Fred, your next repair is going to be more than this vehicle is worth. And at the time, it was the Cash for Clunkers program. Anybody remember that? Anybody here a taxpayer? Thank you. So I've got my Obama car. But that's what you want to have an elevator speech do, exactly what this guy did. Now, let's talk about the goals of an elevator speech. And there are different audiences. Usually we're talking about an audience like this. You're talking about a group where you get up and give your elevator speech. And there, the essence of the elevator speech should be that everyone knows exactly what you do. And they can make a decision. That sounds like something I've got an interest in. I want to talk to them now, or I want to talk to them later, or possibly along with those things, that's somebody I could refer. This guy sounds like he knows his stuff. Does that make sense? So that's the goal with the group elevator speech. Now with the individual, one-on-one, and those happen all the time. You're standing in line waiting to go into the theater and somebody says, I'm Bob, I work over at Home Depot. What do you do? But more likely, these one-on-ones are the situation where we've got a speaker at 8 o'clock, so arrive at 7:30 and network. Doesn't that make sense, everyone? Well, in that case, realistically, there's not enough time to go through your whole elevator speech with everyone. And the fact is, since you're talking one-on-one, everyone is not a prospect for what you do. You're not a prospect for what everyone talks to, are you? So one-on-one, you want to disqualify and move on to someone else. I was at a chamber event yesterday. I met a young lady who sells windows, replacement windows for older homes. She could go through a 10-minute elevator speech with somebody, and the guy lives in an apartment. Have you ever had anybody talk to you something you have absolutely no need for and never will? Yeah. Now, that can happen when you're talking to a big group, but if you're talking one-on-one, you want to move on to somebody who might be a prospect or know somebody who might be a prospect. Okay, I want to give you the backstory of my elevator speech. I think it was a little over a year ago. Bill Purnett, our founder, volunteered me. He came up to me after one of our E4E meetings. They said, Fred, you know, you're our presentation guru, public speaking guy. How about presenting next month to the group on how to craft an elevator speech? And I thought, oh, geez, mine stinks, you know? But I knew it was something I had to do. I had to work on mine. I'm a speaker. People ask me about it. And as happens so often, I know you've all had this experience, when we get out of our comfort zone, we make it larger. But I had no idea how I was going to do this thing, so I figured I got a month. Luckily, the very next day, I'm at my sales class, and we had a new student. And as it always happens, the instructor said, you know what, before we get started, we're going to go around the room. Everyone stand up, tell us who you are, what you do, introduce yourself with an elevator speech to the newbie. And I tripped over mine. It was pretty terrible, and most of them were. But Roy, one of my classmates, said something so great. He had one phrase that literally everyone stopped and wrote it down. It was that good, and I'm going to share it with you in a little bit. But that's what sparked me to building this elevator speech template, and it makes a lot of sense. So I based it upon 2 words. First word is elevator. Build that speech by the floor. Everyone doesn't need to go to the top floor with you. You don't want to go to the top floor with everyone. It gives you some flexibility too. You can skip floors. You can start on one floor and then go down maybe. And the second word is speech. An elevator speech is a mini presentation. And if you've read any of my books or seen my videos or heard me speak before, you know that my mantra is speaking opportunities are business, career, and leadership opportunities. That's my mantra. No one ever challenges that statement. Why would they? Doesn't that make sense? That's why an elevator speech is so serious. Now, a couple things about it. It had to be an elevator speech that was, in some ways, a Swiss Army knife, that you could use it for large groups, smaller groups, and of course, the one-on-one where the goal is going to be to disqualify. It also had to have the flexibility of being able to give as an individual. Some of us give speeches for ourselves. Sometimes you give an elevator speech for a company. It might be you work for a nonprofit. It could be that you're employed or also unemployed. All those people need elevator speeches. Now, another thing about the elevator speech, it's not just to give on an elevator. You could give it on an escalator, moving sidewalks, walking up the steps, all kinds of times to give it. One important thing about the elevator speech is it had to be flexible in terms of time, usually 15-second increments. So I'm going to give you my speech. This is my elevator speech. It's my ultimate elevator speech. This would be if I'm in front of a group where we've got about a minute. This is my elevator speech. I'm Fred Miller. I'm a speaker, coach, and an author. The title of my first book is No Sweat Public Speaking. Businesses, individuals, and organizations hire me because they want to improve their networking, public speaking, and presentation skills. They do that because they know speaking opportunities are business, career, and leadership opportunities. They also know we perceive really good speakers as experts. We like to work with experts. I show them how to develop, practice, and deliver a knock-your-socks-off presentation with no sweat. Does everyone know what I do? I hope so. I mean, that's what we work on. And that's what you want the elevator speech to do. So let's break it down by the floor. It starts simple. And as interest grows, you give the people more information. That's more for the one-on-one. But we'll start on the first floor. My name is Fred Miller. Very simple, your name. Now, having said that, I've got a friend, his name is Mike Ramatoski. And my advice to Mike is say, my name is Mike. Does anybody have last names like that? What's your last name?
Kostinsky.
Exactly. So, thank you. Well, good point, because
I go by Kelly K.
Pardon?
I go by Kelly K.
Kelly K. That makes a lot more sense. Because here's the thing, names like that, people are thinking, let's see, is it S-K-I, S-K-Y? This elevator speech doesn't go up forever, you know, and you're going to lose them. Now, some people have first names that are a little bit hard to understand. You may want to rhyme that with something. You may want to spell it. You may want to relate it to a personality that somebody relates to. But when you're finished with your elevator speech, if it's something you have an interest in, they'll find out your last name. She doesn't even put it on her business card.
It scares people. They're afraid to pronounce it.
That makes some sense. Does that make sense to everyone? All right. Well, let's start going up the elevator. Second floor describes what you do. Like that little ding? Sound effect. Okay. I'm a speaker, coach, and an author. That's what I do. Now, what I'm hoping is when I'm talking to someone, they're thinking, what does he speak about? What does he coach? And what has he written about? And it's three things I do. Who does more than one thing? Two things. Three. Who does lots of things? Yeah. So when you're when you're working on that elevator speech, limit it to three. There are good reasons to limit it to three. There's something called the rule of threes, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. And figuring out what those three are, well, what makes you money, that's going to be one of them, right? And what you love to do should be another one of them. So limit it to three. All right, we're going to go up the elevator. Next floor. This is my expertise. The title of my first book is No Sweat Public Speaking. Writing a book is huge. Who else has written a book? Tom, you've written a book? Oh, lots of authors here. It's huge, isn't it? We look upon authors as experts. And it doesn't have to be War and Peace. You know, you can the way it is now on the internet with CreateSpace and some of these other things, you can write a book and have it published. But you don't even have to have it published. A PDF on your site is a book, right? This is huge credibility. And when you do that first one and you talk about your book, well, it's the title of your first book. Even if you haven't even written a second one or thought about it. But that is huge. What would be some other things for expertise that would give you expertise? Founder of the company? Titles? Years in business? Absolutely. Maybe if you have patents, that might be something. Maybe if you've been involved in building something that's a landmark that people are familiar with. You know, if you're an engineering company, what you did with maybe that new bridge across the Mississippi. Karen, what would be?
Interviewed by TV, radio, or print.
Yeah. You've seen this person in the media. That's huge. Let me say something else about when you say what you do. If you're an engineer, well, what kind of an engineer are you? Mechanical, electrical, construction, choo-choo? And if you are a mechanical engineer or a electrical engineer, go into a little more detail, because those of us who are not tech savvy, we're not sure what that is. Explain what that particular thing does. Same thing would be with chemists and different doctors. One of the things is to have clarity to what you do. You don't want people guessing, what is that occupation? And trust me, if you think everyone knows, they don't. They don't. So no buzzwords, no acronyms, no techno-speak. Plain and simple language. Because you've heard people talk about things that... I was at an event yesterday and a lady worked with feral cats. I didn't know what a feral cat is. I think it's... Anybody know what a feral cat is?
Cats that just run loose.
Yeah, cats that are running loose. I didn't know that. But define those terms. Nobody wants to feel stupid. And we see the emperor with no clothes, but nobody says anything. You know, a good example, I work with some financial people, and they'll talk to prospects and clients about ETFs or EFTs. I'm not sure which it is. Derivatives, mutual funds, and all the people in the audience are going, yeah, got it. They don't have a clue. And you use enough of those terms, and you will be tuned out. Make sense? Nobody wants to feel stupid. Okay. Next floor. Businesses, individuals, and organizations, get the three, hire me because they want to improve their public speaking and presentation skills. Hire me is the phrase that my friend at the sales class said. That's the phrase that stopped everyone. Most people say, I work with companies. I help people. Hire me says, I'm good at what I do. I'm proud of it, and there's money connected with it. Does that make sense? Love that phrase. And if it's a disqualifier, that's okay too. You know, some people are like, oh gosh, I thought you were a philanthropic organization. You help people. No. Now, some people are not comfortable with the word hire me. Don't use it if you're not comfortable. Some other phrases. Doctor might say, people become my patients. Homeowners become our clients. What would be some others?
Join for an organization.
Yeah, people join our organization. Any others?
People become my students.
People become my... That's great. That's great.
People retain my services.
People retain my services. Anything but help and work with, I think. But I tell you, that word hire me, I love it. And if somebody thinks that it has an attitude, okay. It's a good attitude. You know, you're proud of what you do? Sure. That makes a lot of sense. I love that. Pay me, write us checks, buy our services, shell out coin, pony up, spend money with us. I think anything but work with and help. Everybody's used to that. Now this is your why. They do that because they know speaking opportunities are business, career, and leadership opportunities. Is anybody familiar with, I know Simon Sinek. Write that down if you're not. Simon, S-I-N-E-K. We'll look at a graphic in a moment. He talks about the golden circle. It is not what you do, it is why you do it. This is the DNA of your elevator speech. This is the DNA of your company, probably. Again, mine is because they know speaking opportunities are business, career, and leadership opportunities. If you don't buy that statement, and that's okay, then we don't have anything further to talk about. Figure out what the DNA of your company was. Tom and I were talking earlier, and I was thinking one for Tom might be, businesses know a marketing tool that helps gain and retain clients and sell more products and services to them is a game changer. You had a great one, but you can have several. Does that make sense? Yeah. So Simon Sinek talks about the golden circle. You got to watch this guy. I've probably watched him a dozen times. It's not what you do, it's why you do it. And he says most companies start with what? And an example is, we're this big computer company. We build these computers with lots of RAM and huge hard drives, and we sell them really cheap. Do you want to buy one? Maybe. Apple Apple starts with why. They say, do you want to be creative? Do you want to be more productive than you could ever imagine? And do you want to do it with equipment that's fun and easy to use? We're Apple. Figure out what your why is. It's the DNA of your elevator speech. It's the DNA of your company. A couple other things Simon says. People don't buy what you do. They buy why you do it. The goal is not to do business with everyone who needs what you have. The goal is to do business with people who believe what you believe. Does that make sense? It takes some thought. Well, when you discover it, it is eye-opening. You don't do it because of profit. Profit's going to be a result of that. But ask yourself questions. What is your purpose? What's your cause? What's your belief? Why do you exist? Why do you get up in the morning? That's your why, and that is huge. Does that make sense? Okay. The next slide. This is more of why they work with me. They do that because they know we perceive really good speakers as experts. We like to work with experts. Does that make sense? Sure. Experts command more money for their products and services. We want to hire experts. And here you add, this could be a floor where you could either skip it or add more things about your expertise. So you've already established, maybe you wrote this book or X number of years in business. This could be something that they love to deal with people who hold patents. They love to deal with people who have lots of people under their, in the company who can work for them. Great support group, 24/7 service, and all these things. This can be another one of the reasons that people do business with you. This is your unique selling proposition. This is what I do for them. I show them how to develop, practice, and deliver a knock-your-socks-off presentation with no sweat. Again, 3 things. We'll talk about this in a moment. Now, the no sweat, that's my tagline. Does anybody, who else has a tagline? Somebody's got to have taglines. What's your tagline?
Ensuring your future today.
Ensuring your future today.
Or protecting your future today.
All right, I changed mine too. Chris, what's yours? Yes.
Don't fight it, let me write it.
See, I love that. And that's a rhyme. Don't fight, let me rhyme. That's memorable. That has impact when you give your elevator speech. People remember that. John?
We make the top call so you don't have to.
Oh, that's marvelous. Yeah. Steve?
Move the ball forward in marketing without dropping it in operations.
Oh, see, that's a great visual, too. You can see it moving instead of dropping it. Anyone else want to share? Well, think of a tagline. They're huge. You know, those of us who remember Zig Ziglar, I will see you at the top. That's how he always ended. If it's Sunday morning, it's meet the press. Taglines are huge. They're memorable. It should be part of your elevator speech because that's what they're going to remember. So we'll go up one more floor. And the one-on-one, I might say, enough about me, what do you do? Or I may turn that into a prospecting question and say, hey, enough about me and what I do. What do the folks at your place do about public speaking and presentation training? And then I've kind of switched it around. It's a prospecting question. Does that make sense? Yeah. All right, well, here's what the template is. And I'll get your business cards, and I can email this too if you want. But this is just a tool. And this isn't a fit for everyone, but you can start with this basics, and you can switch things around. You can jump floors. One lady suggested to me the other day, you know, it was a pretty good idea. Start with your why. So I might start with a statement and say, who agrees that speaking opportunities are business, career, and leadership opportunities? All right. I'm Fred Miller. I speak and coach, write about. You can start anywhere you want. This gives you all kinds of flexibility building by the floors. Let's review those floors. First floor, what's your name? I'm Fred Miller. This is what I do. I speak, coach, and write about public speaking and presentation skills. The title of my first book, that's your credibility. Think of what your credibility is. The title of my first book is No Sweat Public Speaking. Businesses, individuals, and organizations hire me, see the money? Because they want to improve their networking, public speaking, and presentation skills. This is my DNA. They do that because they know speaking opportunities are business, career, and leadership opportunities. Here's more expertise. They also know we perceive really good speakers as experts. We like to work with experts. I show them how to develop, practice, and deliver a knock-your-socks-off presentation with no sweat. Hey, enough about me. What do the folks at your place do about public speaking presentation training? That make sense? Okay. Now, you have to have a Twitter-type elevator speech, too, because I've gone to network events where they say, 15 words or less. What do you do? Well, I speak, coach, and write about public speaking and presentation skills. Right? Okay. Let's talk about some of the things having to do with this. First of all, I mentioned 3 a few times. There's something called the rule of 3s. It's magical. I know we've all heard of the 3 little pigs. 3 strikes, you're out. 1 for emphasis. This is a great room to give presentations in. Great location, great facility. 2 for comparison. Hot, cold, rainy, dry, up, down. 3 for completeness. I'll give some examples in a moment. 4 or more for a list. Grocery list, shopping list, something like that. We do some of these 3s already without thinking about it, but now that you know about it, you'll have 2 things, you'll make it 3. I talk about the components, parts, and elements of a speech. I name them, explain them, and give examples. Speaking opportunities are business, career, and leadership opportunities. If we want the audience to get it, we need to educate, entertain, and explain. I show them how to develop, practice, and deliver. 3 is magical. So when you find yourself with 2 things, goose it up to 3, because you got them. And when you find yourself with 4 or more, you got a list, and drop it down. And it is magic. I just changed one of mine. I talk about businesses, they know speaking opportunities are business, career, and leadership opportunities. I talk about people hire me because they want to improve their, I just added on, networking, public speaking, and presentation skills. I used to just say public speaking and presentation skills, but that's the completeness. Does that make sense? I do that. Now, a couple other things. This is the content of a speech, but that's just part of it. In any presentation, there's content and delivery. Delivery trumps content. You might have written the greatest elevator speech in the world, but if you can't deliver that in a manner that educates, entertains, and explains, they'll never get it. Absolutely not. On the delivery side, there's verbal and nonverbal delivery skills. Verbal is your voice and how you use it. You want to have inflection. You want to speak with enunciation and pronunciation. I can't tell how many events I've been to. People stand up, give their elevator speech. I don't have a clue what they said. Anybody ever been to one? Yeah. I mean, mumble. I know some of it's nerves. Talk too quickly. Usually we talk too quickly. Elevator speech, well, it's got to be quick. My elevator speech, I think it's 45 seconds. And usually you're allowed maximum of a minute in an elevator speech. So it's not just what you say, it's the way you say it, it's the inflection, it's the cadence, pauses. That's the tough one, is pausing. Because when you're up here, I got to speak, I got to fill this dead air. But pausing is really important when you're talking to people. It lets them absorb what you've said. Too many times people nerve you, we talk too quickly. I know when I was in Toastmasters, I'd give some 10-minute speeches in 5 minutes. Yeah, okay. Now, Nonverbal communication skill. Nonverbal trumps verbal. We believe what we see. You know, if you think back to, well, the last presidential debates, President Obama almost blew it. He seemed aloof, disengaged. Remember that commentary? If you go back to the first televised debate, and a few of us remember that, it was Nixon and Kennedy. It was the first televised debate. It was on television, black and white TV. Richard Nixon was one of these guys who had a 5 o'clock shadow, nothing wrong with a beard, 5 o'clock shadow at 10 in the morning. And he was a guy who sweat a lot, some people do, and he didn't want any makeup put on him. Kennedy, young, handsome guy, back from vacation. And if you looked at him on TV, it's like, I would never vote for that crook, Nixon. People who heard on the radio, this is a famous study. Nixon's my man. Famous. We believe what we see. I heard a story a couple weeks ago on NPR. Actually, I had to look it up because I wasn't sure I believed it. They talked about piano recital at a very high end. I mean, these are concert pianists. They videotaped it, and they showed it to two groups of people. One group saw the video with sound. The other saw it with no sound. The group that saw it with no sound judged the winners more often. This is a piano recital. Isn't that amazing? We believe what we see. Now, on the nonverbal side, we have facial expressions, and the smile is the most important one. Smiles are universal. Smiles are contagious, aren't they? John talked about smiling. You know, they're contagious. I call a smile a non-physical hug. When you give one, you usually get one right back. Facial expressions tell a lot, but here's the thing about all the nonverbal communication. There's voluntary and involuntary. And if you're one of those people who roll their eyes when you hear something, be aware of it. It will kill it. You know, going back to the debates, a couple things. I think it was the senior Bush when he was debating Perot and who was it? Clinton. You know, he looks at his watch. I mean, that killed it for him there. You know? Also, having to do with sweating, no sweat. If you go to a debate now and you happen to see when they had them wash you, bring a sweater. They keep it at 65 so people don't sweat because that gives the impression, it's a negative impression that people get from that. You know, gestures should be natural. If you're in a larger group, you want to exaggerate those gestures. They're huge. Your posture is very important. Your posture shows confidence in your competence. You don't want to, have some change in your pocket and be jingling, and no fig leaf, no parade rest, no Superman, just natural. Well, if you think about it, you wind up screwing them up because you're wondering, what did I just do? Yeah. Let me go back to eye contact because it's important. Eyes are the gateway to the soul. We've all heard that expression. And when you speak, you don't want to be a searchlight, but you want to look at somebody, finish a thought, move on to someone else, finish a thought. You don't want to stare at anyone. Nobody wants to be stared at. But eye contact is really important, and when you do it the one-on-one, it's especially important. Don't you hate talking to somebody who doesn't look in the eye? So those are the parts of the presentation. Let's talk about something that's really important, though, the fear of public speaking. That's one of the big reasons that people don't give good elevator speeches, that they don't do speaking, right? I think that's we got some time, worth talking about the fear of public speaking. First of all, if you have that fear, you're not alone. Lots and lots of people have a fear of public speaking. I think 75% of the population, to one degree or another, have that fear. There's even a word for it. It's called glossophobia. It comes from the Greek glosso, meaning tongue, and phobos, fear. But here's the good news. It's a word. It's not a disease, and it can be lessened. You don't want to get rid of it completely. And the research I've done shows that the fear of public speaking, it's an equal opportunity fear. It doesn't care about your age, education, or occupation. I've coached doctors and lawyers. I'm coaching a psychiatrist right now. I was coaching the father of the bride-to-be. I think he started having panic attacks the day his daughter got engaged, thinking about giving a toast to the new couple. We've got some friends went out to dinner one time. We're catching up. What are your kids doing? Here's what our kids are doing. Their daughter married a Navy SEAL. Pretty much universal agreement, Navy SEALs are some of the toughest guys in the world, right? I mean, they're afraid of nothing. Except in this case, you can see it coming, public speaking. You know, when this SEAL had to go to San Diego and talk to other SEALs at SEAL school, he was a basket case. He couldn't eat, he couldn't sleep. You know, give him that Swiss Army knife, drop him behind enemy lines, no problem. But speak in front of his, yeah. So the fear of public speaking, why do we have it? Well, I'd say, why not? You know, think about it. Most of our conversation is one-on-one. A lot of that's on the phone, right, John? You don't see the person. And more people are texting, emailing, you don't see or hear them. Well, it's just kind of reasonable if you get in front of a group of about 30 sets of eyeballs, it's uncomfortable because we're out of our comfort zone. And you can get used to that. But there are some reasons they have a fear of public speaking. This relates to the elevator speech too, and giving presentations. First of all, if you don't know what you're talking about, you know, be prepared for the elevator speech. Again, it's a mini presentation. Secondly, if you don't know the structure of an elevator speech or a presentation. And the structure of a presentation is like the recipe for a cake. You know, there are specific ingredients, you put in at specific times, you do specific things to them, and you get a great presentation. And the third thing is if you haven't practiced. Practice is not optional. Just as clarity is not optional with your elevator speech, practice is not optional with giving a presentation. You know, let's think about it. We got the Olympics going on right now. Does anybody think those great athletes just showed up for their game, match, or meet? Like, yeah, I think I'll go some skiing today. You know? No. I mean, some of these people dedicated years of their life to this. Does anybody think that actors, musicians just show up for the big show or play? No. Always rehearse. Bands have been together for 30 years. Rehearse. Well, why would somebody think you can get up here in front of a group and give an elevator speech without practicing? You know, Steve Jobs, he's my presentation hero. If he were to give a presentation on a new Apple product or service, he would practice for weeks. For weeks. This is a guy who's at the best of the best. Anybody watch any TED videos? TED, Technology Education? Yeah, great stuff on there. Nancy Duarte, she's a guru in the presentation world. She does, you know her? She does graphics, right? She spoke 14 minutes at TED. She practiced 14 hours. 14 hours. You know, Malcolm Gladwell, anybody read his book Outliers? Talks about how many hours to become an expert. Anybody remember? 10,000 hours to become an expert. I read that book during the Beijing Olympics. And I'm thinking Michael Phelps. If he wasn't in the pool practicing, he was eating, sleeping, or in school. And what Malcolm Gladwell says is practice isn't what you do that gets you good. Practice isn't what you do once you're good. Practice is what you do that makes you good. You have to practice. Always practice. And what you want to do is rehearse, 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 so when you do it, it seems unrehearsed. Right? So practicing is not optional. So get back to that fear of public speaking. The other thing are the what-ifs people have. Well, what if you guys don't like me? You know, what if John was so much better than me that you're comparing me to John and I stink? You know? What if I forget something? Man, I don't want to get up there and forget something. I got to be perfect. But the biggest what if a lot of people have about public speaking and giving an elevator speech is, what am I going to say that anybody has any interest in? You know, they're just going to be bored listening to me. Does that make sense? People hear that? Let me tell you a story, and maybe it's more related to public speaking than elevator speeches, but it's a good story. I teach a 2-night course at St. Louis Community College. I have special class, inner city church ladies. And the way the class works, I speak the first night on public speaking and presentation skills. They come back the second week, and they give their presentations. And when they came back, they were dynamite. I mean, just blew me away. I was very, very much impressed. But one lady waits to the very end. She starts to come up, and she goes, no, I don't have anything to talk about. And I said, wait a minute, don't sit down. I said, didn't I hear you earlier telling your classmates that you speak to your kids every day? And she said, well, I do. I said, what do you tell them? She said, well, I tell them to stay away from gangs, don't do drugs, work hard. I said, well, that's good stuff. I said, how many children do you have? She says, got 6. Wow, 6 kids, big family. I said, what are those kids doing today? She said, let's see, 4 in college. I said, stop. You have 4 kids in college? She says, yeah. I said, I got to tell you, I got a feeling there are kids in your neighborhood don't go to high school. You have 4 kids in college, and you told the class you don't have anything to talk about? Isn't that amazing? True story. But we all have those things. I'm going to tell a story. Bill emailed me a question one day. And I happened to be at the computer, and I knew the answer. I can't remember the question. But anyway, I sent the answer back to him. And almost immediately, Bill replies, one word, wow. Well, I'm thinking, what's wow? So I write, what's wow? And I send it back to Bill. And I go back to work, and maybe 15 minutes later, he sends me his response. And it's relevant to this conversation. He says, sometimes you're so close to your own knowledge base that's so wide and so deep, you don't know what you know. So your everyday, that could be somebody's payday. Your everyday could be somebody's aha moment. Each and every one of you have knowledge and experiences people would love to hear. And hear about your businesses. I know there's some people think, well, we're really in a niche market. They don't want to hear about this. They do. Does that make sense? All right, a few nuggets about lessening the fear of public speaking. First of all, or giving your elevator speech, never get up and say, I hate this. I didn't prepare. I've seen people do that. Oh my gosh. First of all, it'll become a self-fulfilling prophecy, that negative talk. And then people are going to be looking, well, he didn't look nervous. Well, maybe his legs are shaking, you know. And you never tell people that. You know, practice, practice, practice. All you can do is all you can do. But the biggest thing is the practice. The silver nugget I would have, and there's other things we can talk about, the silver nugget for becoming a better speaker and giving better elevator speeches is practice, practice, practice. That's the best you can do. And the best way is to do it. You know, if you want to be a swimmer, swim. If you want to be a baker, bake. If you want to speak and give a great elevator speech, speak and give an elevator speech. The learning is in the doing. So, I said I had time set aside for questions. So I'm going to raise my hand. What questions do you have for me? John.
In your 7th floor of your elevator speech, when you talk about I deliver, on your slide you had a USP.
Unique selling proposition. Is that right, Tom? Or
That's what I wonder what that was. Okay.
yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, yeah. We all do something unique. And you talk about your STDs. No, your STDs. Just wanted to show you I was listening. I'm glad I didn't have to answer that question. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
I just want to have a comment. You were talking earlier about technical people or financial managers who started using industry jargon and people.
Everyone has it.
Oh yeah, I understand that. I've been subjected every once in a while to, it's not so much industry jargon, but buzzwords. And I absolutely hate that as a listener. That completely turns me off.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Buzzwords, acronyms, techno-speak. In fact, when I do workshops on this, I have people work together, but don't work for somebody who's in the same industry. Because what you think is not techno-speak and everyone knows, they don't. I had someone who was giving their elevator speech talking about LTL. I said, LTL? He said, well, yeah, less than carload. It's like, don't you know that? Well, but don't do that. Now, some people are in industries where it's hard to get away from that stuff. And what you want to do is preface your presentation by saying that my industry, like yours, has lots of buzzwords, acronyms. My job is to make it simple and that you understand it. And shame on me if I don't. But we need an agreement before we even go forward. If I say anything you're not 100% sure what it is, that you will raise your hand. And we're not going forward until I see all the hands up. Well, then you've given people permission. Because here again, you will lose people.
Well, absolutely. I don't think so much of industry jargon, because I know everyone has it, but buzzwords is like, the next person says, you know, think outside the box.
I know. People use too many of those things. You're right. Any other questions? Comments?
Great.
This makes sense? This makes sense? Wait. I got my wait. Question? Well, I should just quit now. Okay.
Your elevator speech worked, because when I talked to you, I didn't know I was getting an elevator speech, but I was getting it. And it's like each single time, like, I want that, I want to do that, I need that.
Thank you.
So it was, it was instead of like telling me everything at once, it was like kind of getting buy-in.
Yeah.
So it was good.
And it's not just what you say, it's how you say it. So I've got two gifts for people. First one is the elevator speech template. Second one is a speaker's template. And you can use them both. This is the elevator speech template. Be sure to give me your business cards, and you'll get this as a PDF. I'll email it to you. This is the speaker's template. And just for matter of fact, this is a mind map. We start at 12 o'clock, title of the speech, introduction, opening, and you can use that to develop your presentations. I know some of you have talked about doing presentations. So let me close my section of the meeting. Before I close, though, I want to review. We talked about an elevator speech. We talked about your mini infomercial. The places where you go and they say, what do you do? Who are you? What do you do? Stand up and give us your elevator speech. Clarity is not optional. You want everyone to know exactly what you do so they can make that decision. I want to talk to her. I need to buy a house. I need to sell a house. Or don't now, but sounds like she might be the person to get in touch with, or I might be able to refer her. That's what you want out of it. And we talked about that the elevator speech template is built on two words. Elevator, build it by the floor. You can skip floors. And for the one-on-one, it's a disqualifying tool because everyone is not a prospect for what you do. You don't want to waste major time on minor possibilities. Anyone ever do that? Yeah. Oh, as an aside, let me mention this. What you don't want to do when you go networking, you don't want to do Velcro networking. Now, I've gone, so Karen and I know each other, and I might see Karen at an event, and we'll kibitz, for a half hour before the event. We'll sit next to each other. We'll take a break together, and I'll walk her out to her car. That's not networking. That's Velcro networking. And what you need from some of those people, and we all do, you want to have an escape plan. And your escape plan is this, and I know because someone did it to me. But I was talking, as some people do, and she said, excuse me, I've committed myself to meet 10 people before the speaker comes on. You're number 2. Let's exchange cards. Good luck. And she's gone. But it works. And if you're going to spend time networking, network. Have a plan and network. And the next thing we talked about was speech, that an elevator speech is a mini presentation. And speaking opportunities are business, career, and leadership opportunities. Take it for the great opportunity it is. And it is an opportunity. It's a great opportunity. Well, let me close with a challenge and a prediction. And here's my challenge. It's a challenge to each and every one of you. Get this elevator speech template and develop your elevator speech. Practice it, tweak it, practice it. And here's my prediction. The next time you go to an event and somebody says, you know what, before we get started, we're going to go around the room. I want everyone to stand up, tell us who you are, what you do, give us your elevator speech. You won't panic. You may even embrace that opportunity. And your elevator speech will be absolutely, positively, there's no doubt in my mind, your elevator speech will be no sweat. Thank you.